Welcome. My name's Nate. You know the deal. This is Nightcap, brought to you by Smashing the Party. It's been it's been a little while. It feels like forever. I know. I was out of commission on Thursday. Literally, I had some kind of. I joined a fraternal order. I'm not allowed to really talk about it, I guess, based on the Constitution, but it's cool. I'm trying to get out there from COVID, burning out after COVID. I kind of had this whole social thing where I used to go to Philly, do all this stuff before COVID, and then everything kind of changed. And so I joined a co working spot and I got a job. I'm doing all this shit, and it's cool. But it feels like I've been, far away from my people and really my therapy, my online therapy, which is Smashing the Party Nightcap. This is my rant and rave. By the way, if this is your first time coming here, I just yell and scream at the clouds. I have no fucking agenda typically other than to call out injustice. The long-term agenda is obviously to change hearts and minds, but you know the spiel. All right, listen, today I'm going to go back to old school, 3 points. There's so much shit going on in the news, and it's easy for people to get apathetic about politics. I mean, it's fucking, the media is kind of in this race to see who can say the most bombastic shit and how they can get the clicks and the views and all that shit. Hopefully you guys can hear me too, by the way, because my mic is giving some weird-ass feedback. Anyway, so I want to just go back to old school because this is something that I feel it worked for me. So I'm going to talk about my 3 points, all right? So look, McCarthy, we've got Elon Musk buying Twitter, we've got people saying Joe shouldn't run for a second term. But what really stuck out to me and why I'm focused on this issue is because Elizabeth Warren, the queen who I voted for, who I was, rooting for in the primary, just says it like it is. And so I feel like she should get the news of the day. She's going to get my time today. Elizabeth Warren, the queen who should have been president. Bernie, get the fuck out of the way. Bernie bros, I know you're freaking out right now, but she should have been queen. She should have been president, not queen. Don't lose your mind. But anyway, so why did she touch on the topic? And I'm gonna try to be succinct today. By the way, you can tell I'm a little groggy. I'm a little tired. No excuse. Just working, yo. I'm back in the fucking saddle. So, because Elizabeth Warren called out Kevin McCarthy, she called him a liar and a traitor. I think it's newsworthy as hell. Because I went through some of my old blogs that I didn't publish. There's a ton of stuff I didn't publish because I'm super critical of myself and I'm fucking imposter syndrome all day. So I went through and I had this one post that was pretty interesting. It was just talking about the clown show that he runs. And so today I'm going to talk about the Trump effect and how that kind of rolls into this whole McCarthy bullshit. And if you don't know, I'll give you some preamble on what the fuck the Kevin McCarthy situation is. And then I'm going to talk about the McCarthy effect. And then I'm going to talk about the public effect. So we're going to talk about 3 effects. And I wrote this 10 minutes before I got online here. But the Trump effect, you guys know what the Trump effect is. I've talked about it for a while. It's the tail of bullshit that's going to come because we elected a narcissistic motherfucking crazy person who has look, you have to be a little narcissistic to run for office, I presume. I presume you, maybe not narcissistic, but you think you can help people. You think something's special about yourself or you can make a difference. Maybe that's not narcissism. There's some confidence in there. Narcissism's more evil, and I'm not an expert. But, we elected somebody who really didn't care about anything other than what was in front of them, and their attention span was that of a field mouse. And there was no core there. There was nothing inside. There was no moral compass, not even a guiding principle. So we elected this person, and I've talked about what that would mean for generations because we've essentially normalized this buffoonery. And so the Trump effect, my first point tonight, is the buffoonery that we're still seeing in the Republican Party. The reason why a sitting senator would call out another representative of the House a traitor and a liar. And this woman's not one to just throw out, crazy, she's not the name-calling kind of that's not her archetype, if you will. That's not her style. But she's, not afraid to go to battle. And like I said, if you want to really know why the fuck I love this woman, Elizabeth Warren, is because she read the Mueller report and she's like, yeah, he's got to be impeached. This is absolutely insanity. We can't normalize this behavior. Boom, done. Next day, end of story. She read it, done. Then you have everybody else talking about, not reading it, or it's all political. And so she read the data. And I know Republicans today still haven't read that shit. So she got my attention right there. I was like, well, okay, thank you. Thank you. This is sanity. This is real. There's no political play here. And of course she could have, kept her mouth shut and not been a target of Trump's bullshit. But instead she spoke up. So that to me is why I have so much respect for Elizabeth Warren, when she was one of the first people elected to just call out what it is. She also, has done so much. She's an academic, so she understands the social fabrics and the economies, and she understands how the law is twisted. She was one of the most cited bankruptcy lawyers in the country, or in academia, and that's a huge thing to be cited like that. It's huge. Anyway, she's an expert. But so she brought this whole thing out, and she called it what it is. And I've said this before when she was going toe-to-toe with Trump. I said that, if we don't elect someone like Elizabeth Warren, or have somebody to go against Trump that actually can fight on his terms, we're going to have this tale of bullshit that goes on forever. And you're still seeing it. And so when you start out lying, and you start out with no moral fabric, and you're the leader of a party, a political party nonetheless, one that's supposed to have influence over the American culture, over the direction of this country. It's a cultural thing being political. The democracy, depending on where you are, there's family ties there. There's all this history of this party, and here we have the Trump effect just shitting all over. And I'm not talking, look, the history of the conservative party in this country is weird. I'm not advocating for their ideas. What I'm saying is there was a time where they were at least based on, there were a lot of policies or beliefs that they had in their party that were based on somewhat of a reality. Even if it was prejudiced reality, they still lived in somewhat of a world. They may not have liked the brown people for a long time, but they still were reasonable to understand, like, the basic economies and even gaps and healthcare and everything else. There was a time, Richard Nixon started the EPA. He was a proponent of universal healthcare, and that was a Republican. So they've come a long way from this socialism idea. But the Trump effect is kind of different than all that stuff. It's different than the socialism and that stuff. It's this kind of belief that you can just be who you are, even if it's offensive, especially when you're a leader, and lie and say things in public and do things differently and privately, as long as you're doing it in defense of your team, and as long as you're throwing, jabs at the other party or your opponent. That seems to be the Trump effect. And so what it does is you weave a web of lies that you don't know how to back. And of course, now McCarthy is stuck in all this shit. He went from being one of the first people when Donald Trump came down the escalator. He's on tape saying that no one takes more Russian money than Dana Rohrabacher, which is a representative in California who has been known to, essentially be the lobby for the Kremlin. He retired. He's no longer in office anymore. But that was the comment that Kevin McCarthy made. So it was a joke, haha, knee slapper. Trump takes a lot of Russian money, to the point where then they're calling him horrible, and then they've all essentially go about face and let this guy's balls swing in their face. And then now all of a sudden they're parroting the same bullshit he did. And so the Trump effect then becomes, who's the leader? Well, he's kind of not. He's still the de facto leader of the Republican Party for whatever fucking reason, because he's tough guy, strong guy, whatever. But then you have now there's a vacuum, and of course Kevin McCarthy's kind of escalated to this point where, and he's really, this is, I don't like to suggest that car salesmen are bad at all, because that's not true. I believe there's an art to sales. But I'm going off this, off the stereotypical negative, pejorative look of car salesmen that you have from your childhood, of that shifty person. And by the way, car salesman, I love you. I don't think you're all shifty. I really don't. But I have to say, Like, he just reminds me of a slimy guy you might find on a used car lot somewhere that's just really out to hustle you, and then he's going to go blow all his money on coke and hookers and then go home to a fucking, he just seems like that guy, except now he's speaker, he was speaker, or he's the minority leader in the Republican Party. And this person who went from saying Donald Trump was a Russian asset, essentially agreeing to that, has moved from calling Trump an idiot to now where he's, behind the scenes talking on tape, recently quoted on tape as asking the president to resign. Meanwhile, that whole time, still parroting the president's lies, still parroting the whole lie that the election needs to be audited and there's voter fraud and everything else. And it just seems it's like the Trump effect has molded into the McCarthy effect. The McCarthy effect is this. It's like, hey, even if you're caught on tape, even no matter what, you stay the line, you lie through your teeth. It doesn't matter, because the end game for you is what news, what soundbite can I get? How is this going to affect my polls today? It's not long-term thinking. It's so trivially easy to decipher and kind of call out that so you have Trump with no core, no moral compass. You have the sycophants, the people that are kind of letting the balls swing in their face, people that see the emperor with his fucking clothes, the people that say, oh, they're beautiful clothes that he's wearing, meanwhile getting slapped. Those people then become the de facto leader. So you have this continual tale of bullshit. And it's now the McCarthy effect, which is, you know what? Whatever I do, no matter what someone asks me, I'm always blaming the Democrats for any single problem that might even happen because of my negligence or my inability to lead. But that's the play. And so even if you're caught on tape, and by the way, the whole preamble that I forgot to dive into is that Kevin McCarthy, who's the Republican leader in the House, he's the minority leader, has been caught on tape lying or saying, essentially saying that he wanted Trump to resign. He was going to tell his members that he believes Trump should resign. Meanwhile, he's telling everybody else that Trump's fine. There's no culpability there. And so, you have this about face that we watched happen in real time, and people still, you still have this support inside his party. And so Elizabeth Warren's not having it. She's like, she didn't say fucking, but she wanted to. She wanted to say he's a fucking liar and a traitor. And how else do you slice it? Like, the person's essentially hiding and covering up information that almost led to the overthrow of the American government, and then he's lying about it. I mean, this is what a traitor does. This is Benedict Arnold level shit. Worse than that, in my opinion, because we have it on film. It's not like this is something somebody's making up. There's some political angle here, and that's the fucked up play that Kevin McCarthy always does. He's always saying, well, you know what? It's a political thing. And he actually said this in response to a question today where they asked him, they said, hey, what do you think about this fact that you're caught on tape lying? And so he made the comment, said, you know what? I don't understand why people are focusing on something that happened 15 months ago. So here we go with the 15 months ago shit. When it was 6 months, it was too political. When it was 3 months, it wasn't enough time. When it was 10 months, then you start to ebb into it was a long time ago, and Democrats are still talking about this. Now the play is it's 15 months ago. Forget about the insurrection. Forget about the possible overthrow of the American government. Forget the fuck about it. This is what they want you to do. So the Kevin McCarthy effect is just kind of another transformational perspective or view of the McCarthy effect is another transformational view of the Trump effect. It's just like the Trump is the gregarious bullshit, bull in a china shop asshole guy that everyone knows is a clown, but we can't stop the bull because you know what? The bull's, look at all the people watching. And so then you're watching this as Kevin McCarthy, and you're thinking, wow, I can do a little bit of that. You're watching this as Matt Gaetz, and you're thinking, I can do a little of that. You're watching that as almost any significant person besides, the only reason I give Mitch goddamn, the guy from Utah. I'm brain farting. Mitt Romney. The only reason I give Mitt Romney any credit is because he voted against him for the impeachment. So, but for the most part, you have this effect, this kind of poison that's in the Republican Party. You have this public persona, and then you have these private things that are going on, these backdoor deals that just suggest that they're leading you astray, and they're saying things in one, and that's, people have come to accept that. We've normalized. You don't have to normalize that. There are politicians and people that are running for office that don't lie consistently. Barack Obama, his lying rate, and mostly false or whatever, go look at it. You can look at, there's so many websites out there that will tally for the good or the bad, your candidate and how they rate in truthfulness. And there are politicians that do a very good job being truthful. We're not true, of course, when you're saying things I'm not going to defend anybody who lies, but I think there's lying, with not having the information and putting your foot in your mouth. And then there's just like this pervasive, this desire to lead people down the wrong way. And so that's Trump. McCarthy's doing the same thing, trying to lead people out of the truth, away from the light, because he wants to keep people in the dark about things he said, because he knows it makes him culpable. But it's 15 months ago, and so that's the excuse now. It's too long ago. And so this is what you have in the Republican Party. This is the leader. And so you have a weak, ineffectual leader who's essentially, okay with lying, okay with being recorded doing dumb shit, okay with saying things on tape and looking you in the eye or in the camera and just lying to you, and then deflecting without ever, this is the party of personal responsibility, or at least it used to be. I think they're party of parents now, I think, because they're banning books and they decided to fucking put that marketing spin on that shit. But you've got this impulsive desire to obfuscate. And so when you've built a web of lies, then you can't get out of it. You're always stuck to those fucking webs. And in order to fucking get it out, you need to clean out the spider. You need to get everything out, and you need to get rid of all the fucking cobwebs. And that includes the host. And in this regard, McCarthy, until the Republicans remove him from that de facto leader in the House, they're going to continue to have and cater to these people like MTG and these fringe folks that are really nothing but really unintelligent kind of white supremacists in a way, because they're really advocating for this old day look at America by, kind of pointing at people that are brown and the border problem. Even when they don't live on the border, they're talking this shit. So it's all kinds of weird shit that's happening in the Republican Party, and it comes from the leadership. It comes from the fact that the people that are leading the Republican Party for the last several years have been buffoons, and the buffoonery comes out. They end up fucking trying to overthrow our government because they didn't like the way the election ended. That's fucking crazy. I talked about Trump effect, McCarthy effect. And by the way, there's a tail to this. I think of it like, you get this initial peak of Trump, and we were all bombarded by it. I used to call it the Gatling gun of, he was the Gatling gun of scandals, essentially. Like, it was like firing a Gatling gun. Those guns that's how fast the scandals were coming out with Trump. And so you have this tail effect of, all right, now we have to figure out what the fuck happened, as it was a blur. And then you have people that saw that and said, wow, that was an effective way to get around any responsibility. So I'm going to take that tack. And so you have all these little Trumpers popping up everywhere. You have DeSantis in Florida just acting like a buffoon, trying to play to the fringe base of people just because he knows that's where he can get the most votes. Again, it's just so fucking predictable. But this effect that's happening is now moved into my third point, which is the public effect and how it affects everyone else. I talked a little bit about it when I was talking about the Trump effect. People see that, and they see that, and even if they don't see what they really see, or they don't believe what they see, there's nothing better than that fucking emperor with no clothes fable. I mean, I can't stop thinking about the fact that we live that shit. And people said, "Oh no, he's a good guy. Oh, I no, he means well." No, he was a fucking idiot, and you could see that. And all the people that said he was wearing clothes were just as moronic. And I'm not really apologizing for that. I have to say, like, it makes me think that, how do you interact with people when you can't see something so basic? Like, how can you look? I've made bad judgments with people. Specifically, I've trusted people to be better than what they maybe were, or something to that effect. Or, I didn't even give a shit. And I was like, all right, I know they're slimy, whatever. I don't give a fuck. But you kind of learn through life, like, all right, there's certain behaviors that just don't make sense for any kind of they're fun and they're good for a night or whatever, but they're not people that you want to follow, or they're not people that you want running your company, let alone your country, for Christ's sake. And so I just, whenever I think about people that vote for him, I think you really just didn't like Hillary Clinton that much, and you really just believe the stupid bullshit that she's such a fringe radical person, that you elected a complete idiot. It just makes me lose respect for that person. And there's really, I've heard all the arguments from everybody. Trust me, I've heard them all. And I'm just like, okay, so no qualifications and you're good with it. That's really what it comes down to. But then again, you get upset when we try to make sure that things are a little bit more equal by having good candidates of diverse, from different diverse backgrounds. So it's this whole thing where they're like, oh, just give him a break. It's his first time. And, it's just Trump. He's not a politician. He's the quintessential politician. He's everything a politician, the worst of politicians. He lies. There's no honesty. And then he's bred these other little mini Trumpers. So now we have this McCarthy effect where it's just the same bullshit, except now you're doing it. You're polishing a turd. Instead of, saying things so offensively, you kind of come across as the nice uncle, I guess. That's his effect. And then how this affects everyone else. So, you really can see how idiotic people have become over this Trump thing, over the mask thing, over anything that he talks about, over Fauci. People acting like they know something about Fauci and he has some evil play. All that kind of is the public effect when you have poor leadership. When you have people that don't give a fuck and they're just going to say whatever they want to say to keep people riled up and excited and motivated so that they can stay in power and then not give you shit. It's such a fucking joke and such a scam. The scam isn't really American politics. It's not the politicians. It's the people that vote for them. It's the fact that people don't really they have this, they don't really think about the importance of someone understanding how public policy works or how things work. I really think there's a lot of people that don't believe in experts. And so the fact that somebody worked in public service all their life makes them possible criminal or somebody that can't be trusted, as opposed to somebody who in the public life scammed everybody, has a reputation for fraud, can't be on a board in New York in a charity because they've been banned from New York charities. This is the Trump administration. These are the Trump folks. And so you have the people that just seem to be, I don't know if it's a 50% thing, but you have people that just will buy this shit. I was inboxing with somebody when I was talking about this a while back, just in a different context. And I was like, I wonder if there's some evolutionary reason for it. Like maybe like the people that like could see things and maybe could understand things, they believed in fire. And they believed that if you did something, it would be hot. But then there were the other people that just, no matter what evidence they saw, they didn't believe in it. And so these were your testers. So maybe back in the day, we had to have people that were so naive because we had to have them tested. Look, taste these shrooms. I don't know what they are. I think they'll be good on my pizza, but I'm not sure. I saw Jabba Labba eat one and he died. Let's go find a tester. One of those naive Trumper people that just believe they don't believe in shrooms. They don't believe in death. In fact, these people, no matter what, they watch their kids burn alive. They still don't believe in fire. I mean, is there some evolutionary reason why people can't see or perceive the reality and are so blocked by their cognitive bias and their beliefs that they can't see past it? Like they're so fogged the fuck up, they can't see past their own fucking dumbass shit. And you can sit here and say, Nate, look at you talking. Motherfucker, bring it. Tell me what the fuck I'm not seeing clearly. Because I'm telling you right now, I could go off about how ineffectual the Democrats are. What I'm talking about here is we have a whole entire party that's been taken over by this Trump effect. It's now being led by this new McCarthy style where we sit pretty in front of the camera and deflect. And it's going to continue to have effect on the nice things that we can have in this country. So, of course, I'm a little fucking perturbed about it. It's pretty annoying to see people that I know. I mean, even even folks want to try to like a rational conversation about voting for Donald Trump, and I'm like, okay, go, do it, go, do it. You want to see the whole thing break down? That's about it. That's the only one that I'm like, you know what? All right, fair. You wanted to see it all break down, fine. So this effect of voting for this idiot and the fact that it's just further polarized everybody because he's made everything political. Then he has his little minions doing his work, and they turn it and they put a polish on it, and they do it in front of the camera, and they expect us to ignore it. And then you have people acting out. I saw a tweet the other day that said, how could Joe Biden get 80 million votes when I don't see any Biden signs up? It's like, the fuck are you talking about? Like, this is a person that thinks that because people don't hang signs out in front of their yard, that they have no political affiliation or they don't care. It's like so backwards weird. And maybe that person was the person that you said, you know what, go pick up that fungus over there and eat it and tell me what it tastes like. You don't believe in death, right? You can't die from it. You're an anti-shroom deather guy. You're an anti-fire guy, so you don't believe in fire. So go over here and rub these two things together until it burns around that petrol. I don't even know what petrol is, but it smells funny because there was a dinosaur. I'm off on a tangent. My point is, like, I don't understand. Like, I don't understand how, and these people have to experience things to actually have any change of heart. So the fire guy, while his whole family, he went out and he burned himself. He didn't believe in fire. And he went out, and I said, go in the fire. Go. You know what? You don't believe in it. Put your hand in there. He burned himself. He believed it. But he couldn't convince his family to believe it because they were like him. They could not believe it because they have to experience. So they all had to just burn themselves because they would not take anyone else's. There's evidence or no, they don't want to believe. They were taught that there is no fire, and so fire doesn't exist. And so, that analogy is kind of beat up, but the point is, like, that's how simple it is to me. It's so simple, and to suggest that the parties are the same or they're carrying out their duties to the American public the same is complete horseshit. It's complete horseshit. You may not like Nancy Pelosi. You may not like Hillary Clinton. You may not like Joe Biden. But to suggest that they're, on this mission to completely lie to you about things that we know we saw on camera. And I'm not talking about the China fucking bullshit conspiracy shit that you're weaving with your friends on fucking, Parler or whatever the fuck it is. I'm talking about like the real factual shit that's going on. And so, you can talk about ratings. I don't really give a shit. I didn't give a shit when Trump had bad ratings. I was surprised I was still shocked he got elected. Like, I kid you not, right into 2019. I mean, I was still like, what the fuck? I was still like, I can't believe this shit. Still can't believe it. Anyway, so look, it's been a while since I did a rant where I said enough F-bombs. I think I got maybe 47, but I'm going to wrap. Just like to put a bow on it, the Trump effect is still with us. It's converted into the McCarthy effect, and we're going to have him become the new face of the lie. And then, obviously how that moves into the public, we're seeing the fucking effects. We're seeing people that are getting excited about this, are motivated, running for office with no idea what the fuck they're doing, MTG. And so, it's kind of sad. I will say, sitting on the side, not kind of I'm splitting my time between reading technical stuff now, and me, I'm all or nothing. I'm like obsessing about the best architectures, and I'm reading all this stuff on React, and I'll learn all this stuff. Look, it's been a while since I did React and Angular stuff, so I'm kind of spending a lot of time in that world, and so I'm pulling myself in and out of politics because I still love to know what's going on, and I feel like I've got an interesting perspective now because I'm not watching every single news. Actually, I never watched the cable news before. But I'm not reading every single article, and I'm spending kind of half my time doing other things. But I don't think that takes away my ability to kind of give some analysis or perspective on what the fuck's going on, because that's how most people perceive it anyway. Most people aren't kind of diving into the politics every single minute. And so, it's a challenge for me right now to stay excited about politics when you're kind of seeing how simple things don't work and how ineffectual it is. And this is the same thing that happens this happens to everybody. It's what makes it harder for the midterms because people don't get excited. They lose hope. And so I challenge you to find a reason to keep in the fight, keep speaking out. I'm doing it myself. There's several times where I got on here. I'm like, you know what? I don't even know if people are listening. It doesn't matter. Most people aren't. But the point is that I try to state things, not that in a way that I think people can also see and feel and touch. And so, I just want to say that this has been, I love doing this. And the fact that, I still have people that watch and subscribe. It's awesome. And I wanted to just wrap with a thank you. So I'm not, the whole point of me getting back in the workforce was so I can gin up some cash because that's the easiest, that's my earn. So I can do more Smashing the Party. And so things are looking good and I'm really enjoying my job. But, the larger point is I want to make sure that my legacy on this planet is that I gave a fuck and tried to do something different. And this is my talent, or so I think. And so I'm going to continue to do it. But I just want to say thanks for sticking with me. Thanks for being patient. I know I didn't hit on Thursday, but I told you already I was joining a fraternal order, which I'm super fucking pumped about. Anyway. So thank you for listening. I'm going to sign off. I'll see you guys tomorrow at 10:30. This is week 2. We got 3 more weeks of this, and then I take off. We're probably going to do some schedule revamping because I'm feeling like I can do a better show with the studio options that I've got and everything else. And so year of experimentation, I may end up whipping something together for the next series, but this will probably be, on between mobile and my office. I'll probably be doing these live. So lots of ideas brewing. I was going through my notebook of ideas, and there's a lot of stuff that I can do while I'm experimenting this year that will help me prepare for the big year, which is next year, which is kind of like all right, I'm fucking getting serious. I'm putting money down. I'm advertising. I'm doing this shit. So I just want to say thanks for sticking with me. I know I'm not fucking Ben Shapiro. I don't give a shit. That little punk ass bitch is a dick and a liar and whatever. And he's a weirdo. All right, I'm tired. I'm going to call it a night, and I will see you guys tomorrow at 10:30. Thanks for checking in. You know the deal. Follow, like, comment, share it, view it, yell at me, tell me I suck. I appreciate all the engagement. All right? My lips are, like, so dry. All right, peace.